Takes bravery, man.
What happened to human naming conventions that we go from Mad Dog and Scorpion to Jimbo and Sully? Interesting. It's all cyclical, I guess.
That's future Jimbo for you.
Chase, I have very disturbing news for you.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'm ready.
I just need to get this out there. I need to let all of the gamers know.
Yeah.
They're coming for your Xbox.
Yeah.
They're coming for your Xbox. Big Microsoft and the woke army. I'm just kidding. I can't do this.
Wow.
I can't step into that too long. Microsoft is doing an update to the operating system of their Xbox gaming systems.
Yeah.
And that it now includes a power saving option. Which, if you choose to use it, because it is optional, will make it longer for the game system to boot up.
I have no idea how this is going to get turned into something shitty.
Republicans saw this and decided that this was the galvanizing moment that they're going to choose to get to Gen Z and millennials, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you guys, the woke army is coming for your Xbox now. All right. What are they going to do? Big old Bill Gates is walking into your house and making your Xbox slower. So you gotta vote for us now. You gotta vote for us.
I'm not gonna stand here and let Big Gamer tell me what to do.
Ted Cruz and some other dude, they're like, first your guns, now your Xbox. Seriously, that's what they were tweeting. It was absurd. And like I've never owned a gun in my whole life.
Yeah.
But now after they have taken that same verbiage of they're coming for your guns and put it into they're coming for my video game console, I have complete clarity about how absurd and wackadoodle that actually is. Like I always knew it was a little crazy, but like now that they're doing it to something that I actually have context for, exactly. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. These guys are wild and out.
This is now a news podcast.
It's my Xbox. Hey, it's video game adjacent.
If you need sort of a spiritual opposite to whatever that is, then welcome to Video Game Podtimism, the Optimist video game variety show, where two best friends talk about the wonderful parts of gaming. Perhaps not up to this point, but we will in a moment, I promise.
Where we dunk on Ted Cruz.
I mean, yeah, don't tempt me with a good time, David. I am Chase. Did I say that already? I don't know.
I'm David.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi there. Hey, have you been playing video games, David?
Pull that out so quick, that Winston's so good. I have been playing games, yes.
Do you want to tell me about them? Because I've been playing some, and man, I'm excited to talk about these fucking video games. So I'm excited to hear what you got too.
I got some oldies and some newies.
Some freshies, yeah.
I got some freshies as well this week.
Okay,
Fresh out the oven.
Yeah.
Still been playing Dark Souls.
Okay, cool. Have you made it through Blighttown?
I have made it to the bottom of Blighttown, and I'm now fighting the Spider Woman.
Yeah.
It was really tough because I made it through Blighttown.
Yep.
Then I died at the bottom of Blighttown before I found the next bonfire.
Oh, God.
That was a tough moment in my life. That was a very tough moment in my life. I was frantically looking around everywhere in the bottom of that area, in that nasty ass swamp, looking for this bonfire, and it's hiding in this little
in the cave.
This little cave. It's like a sewer. It's like a sewer entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I didn't look in there. I thought there was gonna be a big nasty in there trying to try to chomp me. I was almost dead. I had 0 Estus flasks and like half health when I got down there.
Yeah.
So I needed to conserve. So that was a tough time. That was definitely a gamer moment of I need to put this down and do something else now.
Yeah, because you do know what to do at that point. It's just like, God, I don't want to do it again, actually.
Yeah. It wasn't, I wouldn't qualify it as a rage quit. It was more of a conscious uncoupling from the game.
Yes.
At that moment.
You need to step away.
We need a break, Dark Souls. I need a break from you right now.
What I need it to be at all.
I'm not in the right mind space for this right now. Mind space, head space, mind space. That works, right?
Yeah, it's
anyways,
similar. Yeah.
But it's still fun. I'm very concerned about my weapon right now because I've sunk all of my money into upgrading one weapon, and it's at half health right now. And I'm fighting this Spider Woman. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I beat her quickly. I get uncursed, and then I can upgrade this weapon and repair it.
God,
I'm doing all this cursed.
This,
by the way,
God, that is hell. I'd say this is probably the toughest part of the game for me. What you're describing, at least the first time I played it, like, because I was also cursed at that very moment. Fighting the spider boss at the bottom of Blighttown after just getting demoralized. Like that's the hardest bit. And Orlando, tough enemies, tough dudes, but like probably at that point not cursed. You've got fast travel at that point too, so it's a lot easier.
There's fast travel in this game?
There is, yeah. Eventually.
I just haven't unlocked it yet.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, that's
I don't think you can by that point. There might be a way out of Blighttown.
Who knows? Well, I gotta beat this spider boss woman.
Yeah, man.
Make me very confused. Like I went through all this hell, and then I'm just confused fighting this boss now. I'm like, I don't need this. I don't need this, Miyazaki.
Hope this doesn't awaken something in me.
Hope this doesn't awaken something in me. Still a very fun game.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying just kind of seeing the forebearer of all these other amazing games that have enjoyed. Like it feels more accurate than like what Demon Souls. I played that one when the remastered one for PS5, because this one feels like it's still just like an up-resed version, whereas Demon Souls felt like they just kind of rebuilt the whole thing from the ground up, but just keep the mechanics. So it's just fun to go back and see a little piece of history. Like this was a game-changing game. So yeah, it's just really fun and interesting to go back and see what it was like back then.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely, they've improved a bit. I think, at least going through Blighttown right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think like there's stuff in Dark Souls 1 that they have nailed and kind of kept in place. Like, I think the combat system is mostly there in Dark Souls.
Absolutely, like the general combat system of block, dodge, parry, hit is all there.
Of it, is like it's there. It may be faster in Bloodborne or Sekiro or anything like that, but like the base set of the combat is like that's been there. It's been in place for a long time. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, that game is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. I also played in a very different manner Power Washing Simulator.
Oh wow! After your house flipper.
After my house flipper,
yeah,
I'm just like, I don't want to flip houses.
Yeah,
I just want to clean houses. So here I am.
Yeah,
I'm actually really impressed by this game in a lot of ways. It was there for me in an emotional way that I was not expecting.
Really?
Tell me. After a long, hard day of work, sometimes I want to come home and play a game, but most games require too much of my brain to play effectively or enjoyably. This game gives me just enough satisfaction to be like, yes, this is enjoyable, but lets me just zone out and just not think really about anything and just get into this state of flow of just like, oh, missed a spot over there. Oh, that line wasn't as straight this time, but I'll get it again the next one, the next pass over.
Yeah.
There is a zen. There's an absolute zen aspect to this game where you can completely and totally zone out to the rest of the world and just be in this game. It is the easiest state of flow achievement that is achievable that I've seen in a game, right? Because it's not like they tell you to do it in a specific way.
No,
you're setting these parameters for yourself of like, these lines need to be straighter when I go across. How far down can I put the cursor and go across without leaving like a streak of dirt behind? What's the most effective way of doing this? How quickly can I do this, right? So it gets you into this like logistical mindset, but the actual component of the gameplay is so simple that it's really nice and like almost like a weird brain massage when I'm playing this game.
For sure.
So I'm really enjoying it. Also, like, kudos to the sound designer.
Sounds like just a power washer. They got it.
But like, not just a power washer, but they change it for each nozzle.
Yeah.
For whatever
surface you're hitting and shit.
You're doing it on. Yeah. You can hear like the little splatters. Sometimes it splatters, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you can hear it like rolling down the hill that you're on. And then it's just like going down the way. Other times you don't hear that. So really like does a good job of immersing you into the power washing world, which I was not expecting. So like in the world of simulators, this compared to House Flipper, which I guess is not technically a simulator, but felt kind of
it's in a similar
one. It's in a similar vein. Like this one is like top simulator. This is a really good sim. So I'm really enjoying it. It's just like, you know, if I'm having a tough day and I come home and I just need to zone out and chill, just go take care of this backyard for a bit. Go deal with the fence.
It's so bizarrely zen. You're totally right. I do meditation from time to time to just like clear my brain out, because like, stress just builds up in there, and it's an easy way to sort of like allow it to pass through me.
Yeah.
This game feels so similar. Like if I'm not doing anything else, like I'm just playing Powerwash Simulator.
Yep.
Yeah, it feels like you were saying, like sort of a mental cleanse.
Yeah.
Because I'm either faced or forced to like feel whatever emotions I'm feeling without really a lot of stress on me, or like I'm not doing anything else really,
Yeah.
And it's good. It feels good.
No, it's like, it reminds me of walking meditation, where it's like, I'm just focusing on this one simple task of walking one foot in front of the other, and I just let my mind go. Like, that's what this game achieves. It's actually very impressive that it's able to do that.
It's so strange. You're totally right that like I don't have to pay attention to my body very much in the way that I sometimes do in meditation, where like if I'm meditating, I kind of have to like focus on, okay, like try not to focus too much on like my hands or my head or anything like that, and just sort of like let whatever happens. But yeah, if you're walking, it's like your body's just doing its thing,
Exactly.
The same thing here. Like I'm not really focused on any single part of me other than like, there's some dirt I should clean right there.
You gotta clean the dirt. Yeah.
It reminds me of like a coloring book or something too, where there's not necessary, like there's a right way to do it. There's a goal at the end of it, but it's not really that high stakes.
Yeah. It's almost like doodling.
Yeah.
It's like doodling in a notebook, right? It's just a mindless thing. You're just like kind of in with the curves or whatever lines you're doing.
Yeah.
Just trying to shade it in. And it's kind of like doodling in reverse, right? Because I'm trying to just like clean up instead of create something. But that's I'm creating a more beautiful area by cleaning up, which is cool. And I also think like the visuals are perfect for this game. Like they do a really good job of telling you like, where's the dirt?
Yeah.
Is this clean? I'm never confused. I'm like, no, that's dirty over there.
The little
blast
like,
it.
The literal ding you get when something is done being cleaned.
And it's just like a little soft ding. A little soft.
Yeah, no, it's not like a
you did it.
Yeah, it's not like
Powerwash.
Just like, hey, good job.
Good job, yeah.
Good job.
Congratulations.
You did it. You cleaned the dirt. Well done. So yeah, this game was there for me emotionally.
Sure. Yeah.
In a very interesting way that I did not expect whatsoever. So I 100% I understand the love that this game received when it came out. I get it. I'm a convert. I'm a power washing pro now.
Yeah, for sure.
I understand. So yeah, really great game.
Cool.
I've started playing, I should say, Kingdom Hearts.
Oh baby, let's go.
Final mix,
Let's
bro.
go. Kingdom Hearts.
So I don't know if you want
excited.
to talk about it too much right now.
Yeah,
if we're going to do a whole pod on it. But I will say one thing is that I forgot that the game pretty much started off from the get-go with simple and clean.
It's the first thing that happens.
It's the first thing that happens. I'm like, damn, they're starting off on the right foot.
Yeah.
This is badass. So I love that. I love that they were just so brazen. It feels like this game was so strange for the time because it just wore its heart on its sleeve.
Yeah. Fully intended. Yeah.
Fun, fully intended. It's just, it's the emo game, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I have emotions. I'm an emotional being. And that's what this looks like. Simple and clean, baby. So I've actually been really enjoying it so far. Yeah. But we'll do a whole pod on it and we'll talk about it then.
Sure.
So I won't get too much into it. And I've also been playing Tunic.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
I felt the need for a old school Zelda-like? Would you call this a Zelda-like? Is that even a genre?
I don't know if it's a genre, but I think I know what you're saying with like the combat. It feels like a Zelda game, like a top-down melee game.
Melee game, dungeons and items and puzzles. Really enjoying this game. This game's great.
Yeah.
This game's really a lot of fun. Once again, does not blast you over the head with a lot of exposition or dialogue or characters or lore. Sometimes I love the lore. Sometimes I need like no lore. And this game has some lore tickling behind in the background, but does not give it to you.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to experience it and live it. So I think I was seeking games that just kind of let me like be this last week. And I think I found a lot of good ones. But yeah, Tunic's great. Good combat. Very well-made game. I think you were talking about how it's just like, they don't reinvent anything, but they just like do it very well.
Yeah.
And that's definitely how I feel. A lot of fun, good level design, interesting mechanics of, finding the game booklet as you go through is fun. I enjoy that. And that I can't read the words. It's just like, we give you a little bit and you have to figure the rest out.
Yep.
I appreciate that. That's fun. It's different. It's interesting. So yeah, it's a really good game. And I like the tilt shift aesthetic.
For sure.
I think I'm into that style for these types of games. I think with the most recent Zelda game, what was that, Link's Awakening?
Yeah, for
remake?
the Switch, yeah.
And then this one, I'm like, this is just like a nice way to experience these games.
It looks good, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if anyone wants to do anything other than just a fantasy version of this game. If they do like, I don't know, something gothic or modern or horror or whatever. Sure. I'd be curious to see how it translates, if it translates well. But yeah, really enjoying it.
I'm very excited if you play a lot more of it to kind of see how it lands. Because I know when I had played it, when I was talking about like, it doesn't do anything like super novel. I think it does eventually. It's just initially it doesn't show you that like super hardcore. It does immediately kind of play like, yeah, it's a Zelda game, but like it really does have a lot going on in there that you kind of have to like dig around for. And
sure,
there's a lot of like aha moments and like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see this before sort of stuff, which is cool. I don't think that is something that it requires so much trust in the player to be able to pull off correctly. And Tunic has a lot of that, which is cool. It's really cool to see.
I do like it when they trust the player to make all the ends meet.
Yeah, they give you very little and they're like, you can do it. I know you can.
I give you enough.
Yeah.
Get there. That's all I've been playing this week. Chase, what have you been playing?
I've been playing video games, man. Okay, so a couple things. One, I'm still playing Fire Emblem. The story... Engage, yes, thank you. Story has not gotten that much different. I'm like, what I think is a little over halfway through the game. Yeah, the story is still whatever. I'm not like thrilled by it, but like, God, the mechanics in this game are just exquisite. They're so good. I don't know that Fire Emblem has been better mechanically.
Damn.
It's so good. Like they've just refined the like tactics part of the game so well.
Sure.
They've also removed a couple of like layers of cruft that I'm really glad that they did.
Cruft.
Yeah, I think that's it, right?
I've never heard that word.
Badly designed, unnecessarily complicated, or unwanted code or software. This must be a coding thing.
This is a coder thing. That's a cruft.
Yeah.
That's an interesting word. Okay, cool.
The unnecessary parts of something.
Okay.
Your like base level, a lot of your base level weapons like iron or silver or any of that stuff, it doesn't break like in the last couple of games. And like only the stuff that is a little bit more rare or a little bit harder to come by, those are the things that like if you use it a lot, it will eventually break. But like that's fair, right? Like you have, if it's a very rare item, you don't want to just like let somebody use that forever. It's like, you need to consider when you're using this, but everything else, it's like, yeah, why are we worrying about this? We really don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff in the mechanics that is really, really good. If you need to hear more feelings about it, listen to last week's episode. I had a lot more to say about it there. I will say I'm still not negative on this game. I'm playing it a lot and still really enjoying it, but I'm still sort of in the same place of like, this could be better than what it is. And I wish it was, but I'm still really enjoying what's here. So yeah,
for what it is.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. I am also playing, this begins the stream of a bunch of new games.
All right, let's hear it.
The video games have returned, David. I got to stand up for this.
I was about to say, Chase is standing up. His desk is slowly moving upwards. He is assuming a position of power.
My first new game that I'm playing is an old video game. It is The Last of Us Part 1, David.
Oh, you about the remake?
Yeah. Sort of. It had a like trial on the like PSN thing.
Oh, sure.
For the first like, I think it's 2 hours of the game. You can play it on, you don't have to buy it. And I haven't yet, but I think I will. Have
you cried?
Not yet. The show certainly has made me cry. Especially for all those who have listened to or watched episode 3 by now.
Ooh.
Real heavy hitter in that one.
I'm not prepared. I'm going to watch that tonight. I'm going to get fucked up.
Yeah. Just know what's going on. Know what you got going into it.
All right, cool.
So let's see. I loved this game when it first came out, the Last of Us 1. And I think my appetite for worlds and games that were harsh back then was much higher than it is now. I have a real reluctance to watch through things that are like grimdark or like gritty and realistic.
Yeah, especially ones that are like pandemic.
Yes, no, very much.
Right.
Yeah. To like world-ending pandemics. And so like, I think after I played through the second one, The Last of Us 2, I was like, I don't know, man. Like that was pretty tough. Especially because I played Last of Us 2 in June of 2020 and was just like, man.
Just sink me down to the depths.
Yeah. And like, I think that game was really well made and what is just like kind of astounding as far as like narrative design goes. But I found that its message was ultimately pretty pessimistic, or at the very least, it was interested in exploring things that are just so dark, right? Like the themes and motifs that they were bringing up of like revenge and violence begetting violence and shit like that. Like, yeah, I know and agree that is a thing that happens, but like it was kind of exhausting to play through that. Whereas what I remembered of The Last of Us 1 was that it is a kind of hopeful game in an otherwise pretty brutal world, right?
Yeah.
That like there are tough things that happen. And I think sort of the climax of the game is gray by nature, but a lot of it is what these characters are doing out of the love for each other. And I was much more interested in going back to that. And especially after having watched the first couple episodes of the TV show, I was just like, I want to see what they did. So I'm now playing it. It is good. Shockingly to me. I'm still really enjoying it. I now understand why they wanted to put this out when they did. Because like up to this point, I'm like, why are they re-releasing The Last of Us? Like it feels like it just came out. I know it was like 10 years ago at this point, but
yeah,
the visuals of it are like, they don't look that shockingly drastically different. You know, like maybe you could have up-resed it and, you know, did fine, but I was like, why are they doing this? But I think it makes a lot more sense given like, okay, so the TV show came out shortly after they put this one out. Like it makes sense why they would want to have those around because exactly what happened. I was like, ooh, I would like to go enjoy this again. So I have made it to the Capitol building is where I'm at in the game. So not horribly far. My wife, Emily Alice said, please do not play any farther than the show has gotten yet.
She's into it, huh?
Yeah, no, she likes the show quite a bit. And so I think it is interesting to see the game and see like what they have kept and what they are doing differently. So yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm noticing on this playthrough is just the pace of it. It feels just like breakneck fast. The game. I think the show is taking a lot more time to like show you the people and show you like how they act. And they have the time to do that because you don't have to shoot anybody in the show in the way that you do in the game, you know? Like there's a lot more of a requirement in the game to have these like action set pieces where they don't really have to do that in the show. So it leaves a lot more time to explore these like people. But even still, like I get a very clear idea of who Joel is, who Tess is and Ellie as well. The intro of the game still fucking hits. It's really harsh and sad.
That game really had like two of like the best characters that just die instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. I am shocked at how quickly things are moving because like I remember a lot of the set pieces of this game, right? Like walking through the like Boston QZ, the like moment you get out of that area for the first time with Ellie and Tess, and then eventually how you make it through that part. Like all of those parts are so clear in my mind. And I think having not played it for a little while, I assumed that there was a lot of stuff in between there, and there's really not.
Yeah.
It moves very, very quickly, which I appreciate, right? Like I think games of that era have a tendency to kind of like get bogged down in length and like wanting to be a really long game.
Yeah.
And I think even the sequel does. I think it's like almost too long, The Last of Us 2. But this one is just, it's moving so fast, which I really, really appreciate.
Yeah.
I had like, I've been trying to figure out this feeling of, I had a little bit of a reservation about the show. And I think most of it was just like, I had this sort of uneasy feeling about remaking a game as a show and it kind of just being the same thing. Right? Like they're doing like shot for shot recreations of the game in the show, like the same dialogue, the same like spots, the visuals all look exactly the same. And I think that there was like, I don't know. I'm trying to drill down into what that is, but I think at some point there was just sort of like I want there to be space for other works of art rather than just like this one big tentpole thing that like is a huge hit on the game system and a huge hit on TV and like nothing else gets made. Obviously that's not what is ever going to happen, but like I think there was a little bit of fear of that. But I'd also listened to Chris Plant on the Besties talk about how like he's trying to also like take a little bit of the frustration off of remakes and shit. And he'd brought up the example of A Star Is Born, with that like in movies it's common for that story to be retold every now and then.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of I'm trying to be okay with it in a similar sense of that, because I see a lot of people who don't play games suddenly talking about The Last of Us, right? And having this relationship with Joel and Ellie that, like, as much as I would love to say, like, the game's there and available, like, people might not play it, you know, like they might not be interested in that.
It's kind of a hard game.
It's kind of a hard game, and like
kind of a hard game.
The buy-in is high, right? Like you have to go get a game console, and if you don't have one of those, like it's expensive, and like
to learn to use a controller, maybe.
Exactly, yeah. If you haven't played a video game before, like that's kind of a tough sell.
Yeah, good luck controlling a third-person camera, right?
So it's hard. The first couple times you learn how to do it, it sucks.
Hard. Yeah.
And so like I think I'm just doing this now as like a what is the show doing and what is the game doing? I think this was also a feeling that was very much alleviated by the presence of episode 3 of the TV show.
Sure.
They really chose to do some stuff very differently that I'm like, okay, this is like fully worth its weight at this point. If the rest of this season is shot for shot recreation of the game, it's still worth it. They've done really cool stuff there. So anyway, I'm enjoying this video game. It's fun. And just like mechanically, it's fun for me. I enjoy it. I know that that's like not always I don't always see that sentiment. Like some people think it's very dated and feels very dated, and I get that, but I'm enjoying it. I think sneaking around as Joel and beating up clickers and runners is still pretty fun for me.
Sure. No, that's a great game.
Yeah. I have also played this game called Lake Haven Chrysalis, David.
Lake Haven Chrysalis. Semicolon, colon?
Dash.
Dash. I did not expect dash. I did not expect dash.
Nobody ever does.
Nobody ever expects dash. All right. Well, what's up with this game? What's going on?
Yeah. So this is a lo-fi horror game, David.
Sure.
I saw some people talking about how good it was. And I also saw somebody say like, hey, it's pretty short. It's like a foreword to a longer game that will eventually come out. I'm assuming Chrysalis is just like, this is the beginning part, right? That it will eventually just be either Lake Haven or Lake Haven, something or other.
Moth.
Lake Haven Moth. Yes. So you play as this investigator or detective called Zeke Reynolds, who has pretty good name. I did like that a lot. He is like called to investigate this case. I think it's like a missing persons, Eleanor Robertson. This person like I think it's intentionally very vague, but they're like, hey, you need to go check out like what happened to her, and you show up to her residence. Of course, it's very lo-fi PS1 style graphics. Looks sort of like a Resident Evil, or I think more directly a Silent Hill.
Silent Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
Lake Haven makes me think Silent Hill.
Yes, yeah. Right. I think that part of the influence is definitely here. And essentially the way that the game plays out is that you're kind of just doing the Silent Hill Resident Evil thing where there are puzzles to get from one place to another. And it's like, this door's locked. It's got this kind of key. And there's a way to get down to this part of the basement, but you don't have this item or whatever. And so it's kind of just like ping-ponging around the premises, eventually getting access to the house, and then wandering around the actual house that Eleanor has been in. It's really, really good. Obviously I'm a sucker for a PlayStation 1 style horror game. Yeah. And I love this scene. But I think this is one of the better versions of that.
Okay.
I think because it is pretty obvious with its influences, right? Like it is visually a lot like those games from that era. But I think where those games, like the kind of late 90s era of PlayStation 1 games, is struggling against the hardware a lot of the time. I think in the interim, people have learned a lot about like how to compose a shot in a video game. Not a gunshot, but like the actual frame of the camera, right?
How to compose a shot.
What is this, dude?
How to save a life?
Oh, sure. Okay. Thank you. Just a little
opposite. The opposite of how to save a life.
Shouts out the fray. So like a lot of the visuals are really well composed, like in the cutscenes. Obviously, I'm a fixed perspective defender in this house. So I like when the camera angles are fixed.
It is fun. It is fun.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that, especially in a game where like twitchy shooting isn't required.
Yeah, so it's a game about mood.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think it does it really well. It is frightening in a very real way. I think there's a lot to point to for it being scary, but I think by far the spookiest thing for me was that when you enter this house, there's like a nature documentary on the television that's been playing for a little while.
Oh, that is scary already.
It's already frightening. Of just like a deep voiced guy talking about like, and this pheasant is common, and yada yada.
Autumn calls us home, for the forest is man, and a hunter may be more than he who shoots. He hears the voice that calls him by name in secret sounds beneath the fallen leaves. A hunter may be more than armed with guns. He knows that what he hunts is part of him.
Scary, frightening.
Why is that scary? What's going on here? What is going on in our brains that makes like, oh yeah, Morgan Freeman narrated nature documentary is scary?
I think like on a certain level, there's like a reduction of nature to facts and like almost not being hunted, but like there is a witnessing that you are doing in nature, and it kind of calls back to this like you're part of this, dude. You're no like, more than an animal.
The indifference of the natural world.
Yeah, totally. That's a great way to put it. So that is scary, but pretty much every time you make any sort of like narrative progress, if you come back to the television, it is just pitched down a little bit every time.
Oh God, no.
Until like it is such a scary sound coming out of the TV.
For the forest is man, and a hunter may be more than he who shoots.
No.
It's so frightening.
Oh.
And maybe that just happens over time, or like it happened the first time and I didn't notice it, but like eventually I was like, God, I don't want to go back to the fucking living room, because I'm going to have to listen to the TV. It's going to
be so scary again.
It's really frightening. And I think with games of this length, like it took me about an hour, right? It's not long. Mm-hmm. Games of that length, you have so much room to just like play with people's expectations, because like, you know, that was the case for most of the game. And then I come back another time and the TV's off, right?
Oh,
what happened?
That is way scarier.
So scary.
Oh,
whereas like
no.
it's really hard to maintain those expectations over the course of a 20-hour game, you know, like just inevitably the mechanics will start to show a little bit. I think a great example of this in this game is that like you are carrying a weapon, like a firearm, throughout the whole game. And like every turn, I'm like, where are the bad guys? You know, like at no point have I been required to shoot. Yeah. Where the fuck am I going to need to use this?
Yeah. Why was I given this weapon?
Yes. And I think the game's answer to that is really novel and fun because when you are required to use it, it's fucking scary.
Okay.
You know? And like you are panicked, right? Because like this is not something you are acquainted with up to this point. And the game throws so much frightening shit at you in that moment. And so it's wildly effective in that way. I think like the game is clearly showing its influence of like stuff like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, but I think even to a greater, or not a greater degree, but like also PT. I won't spoil it, but there's a very direct callback to PT and Silent Hill 2 specifically. But then also sort of the mood that something like Twin Peaks does, where like it's just so frightening and like bizarre and absurd, especially the end of the game, that like it is nigh uninterpretable at moments, like very postmodern shit, you know, Lynchian stuff going on there. But like, I just eat that shit up. Like, please give me a vague and weird ending. I really love that. So yeah, I thought it was like a really good entry in this sort of lo-fi horror genre. Obviously, I am the target audience for that, but
yeah, you absolutely are, especially with Silent Hill 2 Easter egg in there.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, just I'm eating it up. I thought it was really, really good. And like, it's like $3 on Steam. Like if you were at all interested, like please give it a look.
I mean, what can you even get for $3 nowadays?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing. I thought it was really good and like well worth anybody's time if they're checking out that genre at all. I would say that this is a great entry point into the subgenre of like lo-fi horror, because it does resemble a lot of what those games were doing originally, like the PlayStation 1 era horror. But like I think it also makes significant changes for the better. Like I said, the ability to frame a shot in the game, the lack of necessity to have just like bodies coming at you, you know, like I think a game in the 90s would say like, well, we need somebody to fight against. And so here's the bad guys that you're shooting or whatever. And this game says, no, what if we didn't? Like, what if this game didn't have like enemies per se? And what does that do to the game? For me, it scares the shit out of me because I'm expecting there to be enemies the whole time.
Scares the fucking shit out of me.
So yeah, I think it was really, really good. And I'm excited to see whatever the like full game release, if there is one, ends up being. So yeah, cool. Another spooky game, and also the last game I'll talk about.
All right.
It is Dead Space, the remake, David.
Oh my God. This game scared me so much when it first came out.
Yes. I also felt that the first time I played it, David.
Not this time?
I am not very spooked this time. I am not sure why. So for anybody who hasn't played this game, Dead Space is this, I think it came out in like 2010 or something 2008. So a bit of an older game. This was like, for me, a 360 title. It's this like horror game where you're put in the shoes of Isaac, this engineer who is going to investigate the planet Cracker. Is it the Ishimura, I think?
Ishimura, yeah.
And shit just breaks bad. There's a lot of bad haunted shit happening on the Ishimura. And I also felt when it came out in 2008, like, wow, this is a very spooky game. I'm very scared of it. And that was kind of my expectation going back into it. And I promise you, this is not intended as a flex. I just wasn't that scared.
Chase is a man now. That's what's happening.
I'm not frightened by your little video games
anymore.
He's a man.
He's married. This is the precursor to dad energy right now.
I've got husband strength.
Got husband strength. Pretty much, yeah.
Anyway, I skipped around a little bit, but they've essentially put out a remake of that original game, Dead Space 1, very recently. And like, I wasn't super, like, I wasn't plugged into this release very much. I was just like, I know that is a thing that is happening and that I like the first one. So I was like, I'll probably check it out. And then saw that it came out and I was like, sure, let's do it. I played through a lot of it. I'm like mostly enjoying my time with it. I'm probably like a little over halfway through the game. It's not terribly long, but it's not like 5 hours or anything like that. It's longer. Yeah. Especially longer than Lake Haven.
For sure.
But yeah, I went in with pretty medium expectations. Like, Dead Space was not a game that I hold as like, you know, the pinnacle of gaming back in 2010 or whatever. But I had fond memories of it. So I was like, yeah, I'll definitely give it a look. I think the most obvious thing to me is that like the original game, or at least what I remember of it, relied a lot on lighting to be scary. And 2008 lighting is not particularly frightening anymore.
Sure.
But something that has got much better visually over the course of the past, 12, 14 years or whatever, is lighting. And so I think that those updates do this game really well. Like the lighting updates that they've made just make it so scary. Like, it is not the sort of like gray washed out darkness that you had in 2008. It's like, there are very dark colors on the screen and you can really only see in the light. And so it is very frightening in that way. Like, you're never really sure what is going to be around the corner. But yeah, I think after the first like encounter with these like monsters that essentially like their arms and legs turn into like long pointy knives, sort of
spooky,
right? Like, yeah, it's scary. But after the first encounter, you're kind of like, all right, well, fuck these guys. Like, I'm just going to shoot them. You know, like it's, I don't know, dude.
All right, just got to shoot them now.
I was much more scared by Lake Haven. Is perhaps a feeling that I was experiencing.
If it's not an indie PS1 horror remake, Chase is not interested. Everybody.
Hey man, PT scared the shit out of me, and that game was not a scary game. It was frightening.
That's a scary game.
I think a lot of it has to do with control, like not the video game, but just like literally control in a game. Like, I feel like I have the resources to fight these fuckers in this game. Like, it is not really hard to fight the monsters. Like, they're at most annoying sometimes. And it's like, God, that guy just dropped on top of me. Like, that's pretty silly and goofy. But other times it's like, it just doesn't get very scary. And that, to me, like, I'm not super disappointed in not being scared. Like, it's still a pretty fun game overall. I think I was reading about sort of the changes that they've made, and a lot of them are like structural changes. Like, you're allowed to go kind of back and forth between different parts of the Ishimura.
Sure. Which
I think is a good thing. It makes the game feel a lot more like a Metroidvania than just sort of like a very linear horror game. Yeah, I think the update structurally to kind of this like Metroidvania style thing is a good choice. Isaac is also voiced in this one, which he wasn't in the original. I think that's mostly a good thing, but like, if you had asked me, was he voiced in the original, I wouldn't have known like if he was or not. So yeah, it's not something that's screaming at me when I'm playing it. It's just like, yeah, cool. This seems appropriate. I will say that like the world and like the concept of this game is definitely more of the more interesting thing to me this time. I think the influences that it's drawing from are all really fun, and I love seeing how those things come into the game. Specifically, like there's obviously a ton of influence from Alien in this game.
Of course.
I think like the idea of digging up some old ancient fucked up alien stuff is present in both of these games, which is that's scary on the face of it. I think that's a scary thing to just be like, yeah, our discovery will eventually undo us, right? I think that's kind of frightening. And I think the Alien series, at least, is purporting that is a result of like capitalist endeavors, right? Like it is the Weyland-Yutani Corporation that is pushing to like use the alien, right? And it's like they're the people that are saying like, yes, let's go figure this out, utilize these monsters and creatures. In Dead Space, it's not necessarily a capitalist thing. Like the like lore of this game is that Earth was at some point like really the resources were running out, and so they made this like kind of last ditch effort to build these like planet crackers where they like go and like will mine a planet essentially. These like huge like rigs that they send out into space, which is what the Ishimura is. It's like this giant space station that like processes planets, which is like sort of a, you know, I don't know, a climate metaphor, but I think the bigger thing that comes into play eventually is that there's they start discovering these things called markers, and the guy who discovers it on Earth is like, hey, this is like a really important thing for humanity to go look at, and like we should be able to do this, and I think it might be like God or something. Whoa. And the Earth government kills him because they're like, that's way too dangerous to let out into the world, and then as a result he becomes like a martyr, and people are like, we should definitely go look because like people are trying to keep it under wraps, keep it from us. And so there's like this whole religion founded based around this guy. And so when they discover one of these markers on I think it's like Aegis 7 or something is the name of this planet, there's a lot of people interested in like, well, that's like us essentially finding like Noah's Ark or like, you know, the bones of Jesus or something. And so they're like really driven to like go get this thing. As you're experiencing this as Isaac, like you're looking at all the like results of them finding this, right? Like the whole station has essentially come undone, and like there's all these monsters just floating around it that are like totally fucked and terrible. And reading all these reports of like, you know, when people came in contact with the marker, they like their brain chemistry was changed, right? Like suddenly a lot of people started having like suicidal ideation or like thoughts of violence, or people started acting in really weird ways, sort of hinting at this like, you know, almost Lovecraftian idea that like even just encountering this object is enough to like destroy someone.
Turn you mad.
Yeah, exactly. Or even like in Mass Effect, like the indoctrination theory, right? That like if you're around these Reapers enough, they eventually just kind of worm their way into your brain. Yeah. A similar thing is happening with these markers. And so like that part of it is really cool. It feels very alien. So, but like I said, I think this game is saying that this like religious zealotry and people thinking that there is like a bigger answer when there isn't one, I think is like kind of the thing that they're saying drove this, in the way that like, you know, when you see somebody saying like, well, there's got to be more going on, or like there's a conspiracy in the government, like sometimes they're just dipshits making the best decision they can, or not a good decision, but like people decide to like make it up into this whole thing. So I really like that. I think that the boss design and specifically like the spaceship is definitely like visually very alien. Like I think the sort of like used metallic industrial vision of like space flight and like how to work in space is very alien, but it also reminds me of Super Metroid in like the like wandering onto this like very alien place and having to like fight these terrifying monsters, right? Like I think the first boss in Super Metroid is that like hanging like garden monster.
Oh yeah.
And like there's a boss in this game that like really reminds me of that in ways that are just like, wow, this is huge and scary and I want to be rid of this monster now.
I just want it gone.
Yeah. And I think, you know, specifically the creatures themselves that you're fighting on the regular are very much something out of like The Thing, right? Like these kind of altered humans that are just barely human anymore. Like it's not the zombies of Resident Evil where that's just kind of a dead body that is now hunting you. Like the creatures in this game are like horribly mangled humans.
Yeah.
And I think
are they humans or just they're necromorphs now, aren't they?
Yeah, like they get changed into those things by the like little flying monsters that come and like poke them, and then you turn into a necromorph.
Get the necro poke.
You get the necro poke.
You do the necro poke, and you turn into a monster. That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, it's great. Totally makes sense. So I think like those parts of the game are what's kind of driving me forward, is like the learning more about the lore. Cause like, again, this came out in 2008, like the peak of my dense gamerdom. I don't remember any of this, David. I remembered that there was a space station you were on and there was bad guys there. The rest of it, I got nothing.
This was circa when you chose Ashley Johnson.
Exactly.
This was Ashley Johnson, Chase.
This is my Ashley era. Just totally putting the blinders on.
She's racist, but she's pretty cute.
That's the thing. At the time, I didn't even clock what she was saying. I was barely listening to her in the same way that I was barely listening to the story of Dead Space. It's just right over my head. I just wanted to kind of get through it. And like, I'd say I'm still at this point, like I'm just kind of being shepherded from one mission objective to the other. Speaking of which, just real quick, God, I love the click the right stick to get a little waypoint to show you where to go in this game. God, so nice.
That's good.
I don't have to spend a lot of time like grappling with a bad map or anything like that. Like just I need to know kind of the general area where to go. That's fine. That's good enough for me. So anyway, there are parts of this game that haven't aged, I would say, like perfectly, right? Like I think the shooting feels pretty clunky. It feels kind of simple in a lot of ways. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but it feels very 2008, the kind of stuff that's going on, at least mechanically.
Sure.
But I'm also still having a great time with it. It's a bizarre game, and I think that like this era of games, I haven't really re-examined very hard. Like the kind of like late 2009 to like 2015 era of games is one that like I've kind of just left in the past for the most part. You know, the visuals of it aren't quite nostalgic for me yet. I love returning to bad looking PlayStation 1 games because I like that visual style, and even to a certain extent PlayStation 2 games at this point. But that like 360 PS3 era, I have a hard time really pointing to like this is the good shit or like I love this take on games. But I think it's also been enough time at this point that it's worth re-examining stuff, and especially, you know, games that were heralded as like really good games, right? Like Dead Space. Because I think this far out, you get a really clear picture of like what the assumptions of the game industry were at the time, like what was being communicated even without people intending to, right? And I think all that's like really interesting as not necessarily historical exercise as playing through like Dark Souls is, but just like where were we in 2008? Making games, you know. I think this game also does the BioShock thing where there's kind of like a big reveal at the end of it.
Sure.
And that feels particularly dated because if you know it, like it does kind of take away some of the oomph of the story.
Yeah. People just loved M. Night Shyamalan back then.
Big Shyamalan.
The big twist, big Shyamalan time.
I think it was just like game stories they weren't that effective for a long time. And so I think a stand-in for narrative effectiveness is a twist, right? Like being able to say like, look at how weird this thing is that you assumed the whole time, right? And sometimes sometimes that's interesting, but I think you can really only do that a few times before it does start to feel kind of like a trick. You know, I see it in this game and it's like, yeah, cool. And I see it in BioShock. I'm like, yeah, all right. But like that, I think even, you know, pushing it farther to something like Spec Ops: The Line, where the game is like kind of punishing you as the player for doing what it asked you to do.
Sure.
Like that's silly. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's like, it does feel kind of novel in this one, just because I know it's the, you know, the one of the first to do something that significant. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think it's fun. It's not the best game I've ever played, and some of it is still very 2008, but I think like visually it looks great. And I'm just kind of having fun wandering around this like haunted house of the Ishimura. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Cool.
That'll all bring me to my optimistic thing of the week, David.
Beautiful. What is it?
It's being scared.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I like being scared in video games, specifically.
They scare me more than anything else.
Absolutely. They definitely do. And I would say also that like there are scary parts of games in games that are not intended to be scary. Like I find myself scared in any FromSoft game very regularly of like you were saying,
Godric's gonna come and beat me up again.
Yeah. Or like what you were saying before, I'm at the bottom of Blighttown. I've got no Estus Flax and I'm just on death's doorstep.
Yeah.
Like so frightening of like, I hope that there's not a monster around this corner so bad. Because like mechanically it is frightening. I don't want to have to go back through Blighttown.
There's going to be another one of those Steve Buscemi looking things around the corner and it's going to get me.
It's going to get cursed again.
I'm going to get cursed again. Those sexy Steve Buscemi things.
Got a thing for those lizards, man.
I didn't know Buscemi sexual was a thing, but I get it.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. So games are like feel very effective sometimes to me at being scary, even when like it's not a horror game specifically.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It could be anything.
Love when they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
I do. It's when you go through a dungeon and then you come out somewhere that you've already been.
Oh God. So satisfying.
Tunic
like you
is
just
really
come
good
out
at
on the
that.
roof or something.
Yeah. Or you come out like from behind a bush.
Or you do that and then you kick down a ladder and it's like, oh my God.
I'm here.
Yes. Yeah. Dark Souls does it too.
Yeah, Dark Souls does it really well. Always does it great. But Tunic was the one that I was seeing this most recently, where I was just like, every single time I go through a dungeon, I'm like, oh, I'm back here. Oh, I'm back here. Oh, I'm here. It's just like, oh, you bastards! You really were able to hide things very well with the scenery and their fixed perspective camera. Like, nicely done. So yeah, I don't know why that is satisfying, but there is some sort of weird like, ooh, yes, I've gotten through and now I'm back to someplace I know and it's kind of safe here. Mm-hmm. Sort of lizard brain that gets tingled when that happens.
I'm assuming, of course, you're referencing Tingle from the Legend of Zelda series. It gets tingled.
It gets tingled. Just a little green happy man in my brain.
Pops out of your frontal cortex, confetti onto your head.
Sounds like Tingle. Does he have a catchphrase? Does he say something?
It's like, pudding, and then he like does that. I think that's only in Wind Waker though.
He says pudding hop?
I don't, it's not words that I know specifically.
Oh, sure.
Love to get tingled.
Love to get tingled by being somewhere I've been before.
I think it's also certainly, we have played games where they don't do that and you just got to run all the fucking way back and it sucks, you know?
Yeah. It's always the worst.
Similarly, a similar kind of feeling when a game, you get to the bottom of a dungeon and then like a cutscene plays and it's like, okay, we got to go back. And then it fades to black and you're just back to the top of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't
make me go
I don't
want to
have to walk all the way back to the dungeon, like 3 levels. I looked it up. You were right. It's Tingle Tingle Kulu Limpa, which sounds like what you said. Kulu Limpa.
I'll play a little soundbite so people know what we're talking about. Yeah, it's good. Skyrim does it pretty well too, where it's like, if you get to the bottom of a dungeon, there's usually like a shortcut that they unlock back for you, where you can just like go back to the top of the dungeon. Oof,
I feel like Skyrim was one of the first games to do that really well. Yeah. That I can remember, at least big budget games, like third person games. I'm like, oh, this is so nice. I don't have to go through the whole thing again. It's great.
For sure. Hey, do you want to move on to our main thing, David?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Hey, check this out. It's Good Games. It's the segment where we talk about, we reflect on video games from the past.
Whoa, you're changing it up.
Well, normally the line is the okayest games of yesteryear.
Yes.
Sometimes we talk about games that are more than okay.
That's true. We talk about some good games sometimes.
Yeah, some like truly actually great games. And this week, this is one of them, and so I didn't want to introduce it as the okayest.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So here it is. It's Contra 3. This one was suggested to us by listener Rob K. Thank you, Rob. They had said, play this. Rob had mentioned he won a not for resale copy for free of Contra 3 The Alien Wars through a Nintendo Power contest and loved it. Such a specific entry into this game.
But did you resell it, Rob? That's the real question. Did we even tell us Papa Nintendo what happened?
Dikembe Nintendo is never going to find out. He will never find out what happens here. No, I don't think he did sell it because he sent me a picture of it. And it for sure on it said not for resale, which is cool. That's a cool thing to have. He also mentioned he never finished it until college, but when one of his roommates was a self-professed Contra prodigy, taught him his tricks, he was able to get through it.
A self-professed Contra prodigy.
I mean, you can only be self-professed until you pick up the sticks, you know? Like
true.
Contra will shake it out of you whether or not you were good at this game.
You gotta prove yourself, kid.
You can't fake it on the court, man.
You can't. You can talk all the trash in the streets, but the ball don't lie, baby.
It's true. It doesn't. So before we get too far, can I hit you with some hot stats, David?
Yes, please.
Hot stats.
So Contra 3, The Alien Wars came out for SNES February 28th of 1992. 21 years ago. No.
Wow.
30. 28. My math has failed me.
92. That's 31 years ago.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
31 years ago. You're like 21 years ago. Just a jaunt around the old block.
Yeah.
Nah, dog. 31,
No.
my dude.
Off by a decade.
I mean, that's the classic millennial trap, is that you think
Yeah.
the 90s were a decade or two ago.
Very recent. No, in fact, they were not. It was made by Konami, which... listen, Konami's a good game company. At least they were at the time. I always have such a hard time tracking down who actually fucking made games that were made by Konami.
Really?
Because like it's
a mystery,
just such
huh?
it's a huge company, and so like it's always incredibly difficult to figure out like who made the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to track down like a few people who were involved in like the producer, Kazumi Kitaye, I believe is how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
He's an executive producer on this game, and then also ended up working on Metal Gear Solid, Silent Scope, and of course Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix.
Wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
Neither did I. I kind of want to play.
I'd be down.
Also, Nobuya Nakazato, who did the design for this game, like the game design, and then also for a bunch of other Contra games, and also the Vandal Heart series, which is a series I haven't played, but I hear good things about. David, I also have a review of Contra 3 by Total, which is apparently a German outlet because it says Total, and then in parentheses right next to it, it says Germany. So I presume that means it's from Germany.
Is it Total with an exclamation point? That's what it sounded like you were saying. Is it really?
Yes.
Hell
I'm glad
yeah.
that came through.
I love it.
They reviewed this game, and it was originally in German. I ran it through Google Translate a number of times and then spat it back out in English.
Great.
What else do you want?
Spit on me.
Huh. Let the
Sorry.
intrusive thoughts win this time, didn't you?
The intrusive thoughts win maybe too much with me on this podcast.
Even at the end of the sentence, you were slamming on the brakes, but it just couldn't really get.
They were already out of station. They were already out of station.
Wait, stop the train.
The code to launch the nukes was already sent.
Anyway, I'll read you this review now. Players with a low budget should receive their money, or around $70,000, twice before considering a purchase. Although the 6th floor of the housekeeper is not the world, the space here is also haunted. You don't expect endless fun like Wario Place or Link. However, if you don't have these problems and want a good husband game in your hand, Probotector 2 is the way to go. For those with a super heart, it's still worthwhile purchase if they want to see their hardware in action. You can tell by the SGB's smooth texture. And that's an 85 out of 100 for them.
It felt like every new word took it in a different direction.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of zigging and zagging on that one, huh?
That one was all over the place. It's a good one. That's a good one, though. Kept me guessing, which I appreciated.
I don't know what Probotector 2 is. No
Robotector 2. I mean, it's provocative, though.
It is. I do feel something when I hear it, which is nice.
Like, is it a robot detector? Robotector 2?
Maybe. I hope so. That's what I want.
Like, it's actually a Battlestar Galactica game. You're searching for Cylon. You're a Robotector.
Could you tell me what this game is, David?
Contra 3
Alien Wars
is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up.
Yeah.
Where you are a buff dude with big guns who also shoots a gun at aliens.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 2 guns at a time. Sometimes there are top-down levels, which are fun. There's some vehicles, which are cool.
There are. Yeah.
There's some bosses at the end of each level, which are hard.
Yes.
But cool designs. Yeah, I think that's the gist of the game. Do you have anything else to add?
No, it's Contra. Like, if you've ever heard of the game Contra, this is the one.
Yeah, the game starts with just like a big city being blown up by an alien spaceship, and then big red letters go across the screen. The alien wars have begun.
Yeah. It is Nintendo core of like
Nintendo core
or Super Nintendo core. I feel like there's so many games that are like this where they're just like, we don't care. Just get into the fucking video game, man.
Here's your little bit of exposition. Now play the game.
Yeah, they give you 10 seconds of story and then it's all right, go shoot some dudes. Yeah, no, that's mostly it. What'd you like about this one? What landed for you in Contra 3?
What landed for me? I felt like the game controlled well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like some of the street brawlers of this era could get lost in the weeds with like going up and down on the level as well as side to side. This one just keeps it simple and streamlined. You're just going side to side, you're just jumping, you're just dodging things, and you don't have to worry about whether or not you're lined up with someone or something to hit them. I thought that was good. I enjoyed all of the weapons. The weapons were very varied.
Yeah.
I liked the flamethrower in particular. That one great. Yeah. Was fun as hell. That one and like the heat-seeking rockets. Ooh, that one was good too. You could do whatever you wanted with the heat-seeking rockets. You're like invincible until you get hit by a tiny little bullet coming from across the screen. I liked those. I liked the vehicles. The vehicles were good. They made you feel very powerful. I liked the tank. Yeah. In a later level, you get like a robo chopper, like as in like a hog, a realistic or a futuristic hog. It's pretty cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like a pig, you mean?
No,
like a motorcycle.
Like a motorcycle. Like a big old Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
Hog.
A
hog. I enjoyed that. And I did think that the levels were varied. They were fun. They were interesting. Each one was kind of different. And I did like that they would do, just a top-down level that felt very unhinged in a good way. Especially because you could just spin around in a circle shooting bullets everywhere while your character like looks up to the sky screaming. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
That was pretty great. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I think anything else that you have to say?
No, yeah, I'm with you. I was reading a couple of reviews. There was what's the dude Nakazoto. He had the designer of this game. He had mentioned a couple like interesting things, and I think you're hitting on a few of them. That the game is like almost funny in a way.
Yeah.
Like it's just really over the top. And he had specifically said, like, I think that's an important part of this game. He's like, I think the first game is like too realistic and too serious. And so they wanted to like add some stuff to add like levity, which I think works. Like there's so much ridiculous shit going on in this game. There was this quote that he had believed that Contra was it had this theme of a low budget movie, which I really loved that they are calling it out so specifically that they're like
a B movie.
Yeah, we want this to look like a shitty movie. Which, like, I kind of assumed at the time that was an unintentional decision. That's just like, well, we're just making a game and this is what, like, stuff looks like right now. But, like, they were really like, no, we don't want this to look like a real, like, war game. We want it to look like the Terminator or something like that. Like, just ridiculous shit going on in the background. Not that Terminator's a B movie, but, like, you get what I mean? Like, it's kind of a low-budget approach to, like, making these games, which I think is pretty novel and not something you see very often. It was cool.
Absolutely. That. Yeah. No, I do like that. And I think that the artistic style, like kind of what you're talking about, shows that, right? They're just trying to make it bright and interesting. They're not thinking too hard about, does this make sense? They're just like, this is cool. This looks cool. So we're going to do this.
There's like a series of buttons you can do to do just somersaults and shoot in every direction, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
There was this bit out of the Contra 3 manual that I would love to read you about the story because it's unhinged.
Oh, sure.
In the manual, it said,
February 14th, 2636. You are about to learn what it takes to be a descendant of Commando legends Scorpion and Mad Dog. That is, now the Red Falcon would like to use your family tree as a toothpick. You are Jimbo and Sully, Special Forces comrades, just like
Jimbo?
Your fearsome... and Sully.
Oh my God.
Just like your fearsome forefathers were. Nowadays, your weapons are far more advanced than they were when your ancestors saved the world from being skewered on Red Falcon's fangs. The Bat Brutal Beast is still in his prime and has had plenty of time to plot his revenge. He had swapped Neo City with 6 stages of the most cruel and unusual punishments ever. So run, climb, ride, soar, and start blasting your way through the alien main base before your family name and your planet are just dirt under Red Falcon's claws.
It's so ridiculous.
My God. Is Red Falcon in this game?
It's like the bad guys, I guess, like the name of them.
I thought they were aliens.
I think they are.
Did the Soviets contact aliens to take over Earth?
It's a distinct possibility.
The Bat Brutal Beast?
It said that brutal beast.
That brutal beast. I was like, who's a bat?
Sounds like an Avenged Sevenfold lyric.
Bat Brutal Beast, yeah. That brutal beast.
The Red Falcon is a military organization which acted as the original antagonist of the Contra series. The ranks are composed in part of brainwashed and well-armed human military forces, as well as various alien life forms which control the former. The bosses are just ridiculous alien monsters in this game. It's pretty incredible.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good bosses. I do enjoy the bosses.
Like the big like turtle you fight at the end of the first one.
The big mutated
really
turtle. Yeah. He looks like he's in pain.
Kind of putting the poor boy out of his misery.
He put the poor boy out of his misery. Yeah.
The gall to make one of your main characters named Jimbo is really takes bravery, man.
What happened to human naming conventions that we go from Mad Dog and Scorpion to Jimbo and Sully? Did we go back in time? Interesting. It's all cyclical, I guess.
That's future Jimbo for you.
It's future Jimbo.
In the future, we're all Jimbos.
Maybe what happened is that Mad Dog and Scorpion were their code names, and now their real names in the future are like something crazy like Mad Dog and Scorpion. So they have to give them an equally unconventional nickname, which is Jimbo and Sully.
Yeah. Maybe that
makes more sense.
Maybe we should start introducing ourselves as Jimbo and Sully on this podcast, David. That's just our nicknames.
Who's Jimbo and who's Sully?
That's a really good question.
We'll leave it up to the listeners.
Are you more of a Jimbo, or do you think I'm more of a Sully? Who knows? Also, let me know. Let us know what you are. If you're feeling like you're a Jimbo or a Sully, let me know.
Yeah. Are you? Yeah. We'll put a Twitter poll up or something.
Just put it somewhere on the internet. We'll hear it.
just yell out into the abyss.
I am a Jimbo.
Wow. Are you a Jimbo or a Sully? Team Jimbo or Team Sully? This is the new Team Edward or Team Jason? Luke?
Jason.
Taylor? Tyler?
Jacob.
That was it. Fuck. I'm sorry, everyone. I butchered
sorry,
that.
Twilight fans.
I butchered that pretty hard.
Really dropped the ball on Jason.
Jacob?
Jacob, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
So, yeah, the video game. I like that this game is like knowable. Like it seems so overwhelmingly challenging and hard, but like I was watching, as I was fully expecting to, watching somebody much better at this game play it. And I was like, this, like, you can do this. It seems so hard and so wild, but like at a certain point, you start to notice patterns of like, okay, these guys, like the red ones or the blue ones will attack like this. And so I can kind of predict where they're going to be. This boss makes a lot more sense if you go up and shoot this thing, then that thing, then you go down here and hit this. The person who I was watching skipped the vehicle, which I was like, damn, pro strat.
Whoa.
I wouldn't have expected that. They're like,
that is a Sigma male move right there.
Yeah, real grind set sort of move to skip the vehicle entirely.
Everybody takes the vehicle, but not me.
I take the long road. I use my feet.
Gotta get my feet right first.
Jimbo gotta use his feet.
Sully's more a tank man.
Yeah. Jimbo's feet ain't supposed to be used for pushing the gas. Them's for walking.
Them's for pushing the earth.
So I feel like this game definitely inherits a lot from like the arcade style of gaming.
Sure.
But a lot of the time with those games, I feel like they're so intentionally driven to be hard in an unfair way. Like we're just going to get some quarters out of you. But I like this one. Like it is hard, but it is also beatable. You can do this, which is
absolutely
nice. Like you just kind of have to like pay enough attention to it over a certain amount of time to be like, I'm getting better at this. Like I know what I'm doing. I know what to do. And like, it is hard, but I appreciate that it's not like so punishing.
Yeah.
In the way that a lot of other games of this era really were.
You definitely get your Morpheus moment, you know, when you start to believe and then you just start plowing through. Like with any game like this or like a Dark Souls type game, once you start learning the patterns and the move sets and know how to counter everything, you start reading the code of the Matrix and you become the one. It's great. And it really is an empowering moment when that happens.
I don't even see code anymore, man. I just see zombie dog, big spooky turtle. Guy with a gun.
What was up with those dogs?
I know, so frightening. Just eating trash, and they eventually come and fight you.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Do they have faces of people, or were they zombies? Is that what
I
you're
don't
saying?
know. I had no idea. Just spooky dogs.
Yeah, fucked up dogs.
Something that Nakazoto had mentioned in like some of these interviews was that he was like concerned with the traditional pattern of weak enemies followed by a boss fight, in that like it would kind of become a little mundane. He specifically said he wanted players to feel in for the long haul every play session. And so to combat this, he established this like concept for something interesting needing to happen every 3 screen scrolls. And so like the intention, he said, was to make it feel a little bit closer to like a boss rush almost. And that like this version of Contra was like going against the trend of console games at the time that were like shifting a little bit more to slow paced strategy and like role playing games. And specifically mentioned that this game is good for quick stress relief, which I understand what he's saying there, but damn, this game is stressful. It is really hard.
It is stressful. Yeah. Well, you will consistently be in a position where you're like, I am about to die and there's nothing I can do.
Constantly.
Just like there's nowhere I can go. And I'm just going to have to eat it.
Yeah, no, but I appreciate what he's saying there, that like they're essentially trying to like take out of the game anything that isn't fun, and then make sure that like, okay, it's been almost a little bit too long. Let's just put the boss here, or put the mini boss of this level here, or a vehicle or whatever. Right. And so I feel like that does come through. Like the game doesn't drag very much. You either get killed immediately because you don't know this part of the level, or you make it farther than you did before, which is cool. I like that approach, like a nice design by subtraction sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a lot of fun. It is interesting how they laid that out. It's a different way of thinking about these types of games, and it makes it more engaging, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't require you to like grind to get back to the part that you want to.
Yeah.
It's like if you know how to do it, you can fly through these levels.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like that at first, but like, yeah, once you know the patterns, you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
God. I'm good.
Like I was saying before, this game also feels just like so quintessentially Super Nintendo. Like the story, the palette, the art style, the gameplay, it's all just like, this feels like what Super Nintendo does to me.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of different kinds of games on the SNES, but like I definitely think of like running, gunning, action shooters as like a thing of that era.
I mean, I think this was like the tentpole of that genre at the time, wasn't it?
I think so. Like I can't think of any other games that were like as well regarded as this one. And like I was trying to think in hindsight, like, does this game stand up still on its own? You know, because like I think that this era or this kind of game style you don't see this very often. You see the challenge and the difficulty and stuff, you know, any of the Souls games or anything like that, but the kind of like shooting bullet hell stuff, I think you get bullet hell in other kinds of games. You see them a lot more in like Zelda like games, but not sort of in this style. And so I don't know, I'm curious if this one still like lands for you in the year 2023.
I really enjoyed this game.
Yeah.
I thought it was well made. I thought the levels were interesting. I thought it was one thing that I think appreciate about this game is that everything is very clear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When I have a bullet hell style game and everything just feels muddled and I'm dying because I just can't see things or discern what actually is going to hurt me, that is not an enjoyable experience for me. But I feel like this game was very clear as to what's going to hit me and how I can get out of that way. And if I wasn't able to, it's a pretty easy get back to that point and figure it out sort of situation. So I think that loop works really well, and it does feel like it's more on the fair side of hard, right? There are some games that are just hard for the sake of being hard. This one feels like, okay, no, we kind of want you to actually like go through and play this game. So we're not going to make it easy, but we're also not going to just like step on your throat, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that it did definitely had me engaged that way, and I was kind of surprised by the fact that you could have like multiple weapons, you could swap them out depending on what power ups you got, and I did like the little breaks in the action with the vehicles and the top down levels were just a little bit different, a little bit interesting. Somewhat confusing when I first got into a top down level. I didn't know what actually I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
But figured it out. It was fine, and they're just fun. It's just silly fun. It's kind of like lighthearted violence in a way.
Yeah.
But it's against aliens, so it's okay. So yeah, no, I really did quite enjoy this game.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, I'm with you. I think that like this wouldn't be game of the year if it came out this year, but I think like the the mechanical basis of it is just so solid
Mm-hmm.
that like it is still fun. It is still fun to play these kind of games. And I think the success of something like the like Streets of Rage game came out a little while ago, or the Shredder's Revenge game. I think those speak to the idea that like these ideas aren't stuck in the past. They are still fun. And I think the success of Streets of Rage was kind of adhering to the structure of the old games. And I think Shredder's Revenge was changing it up a little bit. You know, we're going to either be very similar and harken back to that era, or with Shredder's Revenge, like we're going to let you play through the whole game and like kind of in a level basis and just kind of add on top of what was there already. So yeah, I think like this, if you could totally put this kind of game out in 2023, and I think it would be really benefited if you just sort of like layered a little bit on top, or you know, somebody could easily put out Contra the roguelike, and that would immediately sell.
Contra the roguelike, you know? Yeah, probably would.
Because like that loop really benefits just replaying over and over and over again.
Because it's fast. It's fast paced.
Yes.
You know?
Like in something like Spelunky or like Shovel Knight Dig or something like that, like those runs can be incredibly short. And so I think like this kind of game would definitely kind of slot into that zone pretty easily. If like these runs can be incredibly short if you want them to, or if you do badly, that's also an option. But being able to make it through to the end of Contra is incredibly satisfying in the way that in any sort of like roguelike game is a similar sort of satisfaction that you can get from just like learning the game and getting better at it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Not that like, you know, I'm telling somebody how to make a game or anything, but just like I could see these base mechanics working really well in the kind of genres that we already have.
You have a degree in game design, Chase. Make this game.
Oh man, it takes so much to make a game. It's a miracle that any video game ever comes out.
This is a man with a real working knowledge of how the sausage gets made here.
It's hard, man. It's hard to make a video game. I've been working in front end development like since like 2015, and like I feel like I could have made like one game in that time. I've made so many websites in that span of time, but I probably could have made one game that like maybe sold okay, and that's it.
It's a labor of love.
It's so hard to make these fucking things, man. Anyway, hey Rob, thanks for your suggestion. This is a fun one. I like playing Contra.
Yeah, thanks Rob.
It's a good game. It's makes sense why it was rated so high at the time, especially.
Absolutely. Well made.
Yeah.
Good bones.
Good bones. Great bones.
Great bones. Hello, everyone. If you like this podcast, if you like this episode, and you want to go and check out games we have played, you want to check out our social media, you want to check out our past episodes, you can go to podtimism.com and do all of those things. There's a search bar there, so you can find games we have talked about in any episode or in any capacity. You can leave suggestions for us to do different games in the future, or like suggest us to do like different bits or lists. I don't know.
Whatever you need.
Get crazy with it. We're here for you. So yeah, go check it out. It's a great website. Chase made it. It's beautiful. He pops those babies out like it's nothing. Those websites.
They're easy to make a website. Much easier than a video game.
much easier than a video game. So yeah, not thank you yet. First of all,
I will not be thanking anyone yet. It's too early.
Too early to thank. Well, I will say that this is the Scout of the Week, and to thank Scout Wilkinson in particular for her beautiful podcast art that we have. She's a talented artist. She's in demand. I don't know if her commissions are open right now, but you can go check out her website and get some merch at co-fi.com/humblegoat.
She's got stickers.
She's got stickers. Watch out, everybody. She got stickers.
They're good.
Good stickies. I haven't seen these stickers. I want to see.
They actually are quite good. She has a 4-leaf clover that says "Still Alive" on it, which I really appreciate.
No pain, no pain.
No pain. It's got big Fido Dido energy. A teardrop that said "Didn't cry."
Dido.
Hell yeah.
It's got a Tangela.
Does got a Tangela.
Anyways, if you also want to help us out, can leave a review on any podcast listener that you use. We really appreciate it. We'd like to read them for our own mental health boosts throughout the week.
It is nice, I will say.
So we appreciate that. You can also spread the good word to a friend. Let others know if you like Podtimism, maybe they will like Podtimism as well. We really appreciate that. And of course, thank you, dear listener, for spending your time with us. It's wild that you do that, and we really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's fun to make this podcast. I still love doing it. These video games just don't stop being good.
They're still good. I've been playing these since I was 4, and they're still good. There's still new experiences to be had in these games.
So surprising.
It's pretty impressive.
Week after week, I just keep coming back like, yeah, I'll have another. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will have another, please. Chase, do you have any video game wisdom for us this week?
We do this bit every week, and every time I'm like, oh shit.
God, I get you with your pants down each time.
Yeah, I like because usually when I'm doing the outro, I'm like, all right, I got my thing, and then I get to end it, and David gets to say something. And then when you're doing it, I feel like I'm just like on a beach somewhere, kicking back. Like David's got it. Mm-hmm. It's all good.
No, it's you this week, baby.
Then the rug gets ripped out from me. I'm like, wait, I gotta be kind of funny maybe, or like some insightful stuff.
I mean, something. It doesn't have to be anything insightful. It doesn't have to be something funny. It could be nothing. You could just make fart noises with your mouth, and that could be the optimistic thing or your wisdom of the week.
Yeah, sure. My wisdom of the week is don't go chasing waterfalls. And by waterfalls, I mean ancient pieces of alien technology that maybe should stay hidden.
Oh, okay.
Because maybe I don't think they need to be found every time, you know? Like, I think we got a lot of evidence that like nasty old alien stuff is like not good to unearth, which is what waterfalls means in the song by
TLC.
Thank you, David.
I got you.
I think that TLC actually stands for totally loves Contra. I think TLC was a big fan of Contra and video games. Tender love in Contra.
Is actually when they said don't go chasing waterfalls, the next lyric is actually step through them because there's a chest on the other side.
Big gamers TLC.
Big gamers TLC. If there's a waterfall, you have to go behind it because there's something there.
And also don't unearth ancient alien obelisks.
No obelisks for me, please. Thank you.
Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. And by that, I mean, just don't planet crack Aegis 4.
Just go to planet Earth. Stick with Earth.
Invest in green technologies. Don't go planet cracking now. Please invent solar power and nuclear power too.
I got nothing to say. That's beautiful. It's great.
Great. All right. Then that's good. That's the end of the
episode.
Love the Earth. Love the Earth. End of episode. Goodbye.
Bye.